Welcome in, everybody. Glad, as always, that you're along. It is, I believe, podcast number 304, but Marky and Alex will check me on that. This is my palatial room in Chicago, and we're departing Chicago today after a three-game series against the Cubs, heading to New York. Welcome off day in the Big Apple, my hometown, so I'm looking forward to seeing one of my boys and my sister and family and all sorts of things. So I always look forward to that. And I'm glad we have a day off before taking on the Mets in Queens. And this road trip will continue to Florida, South Florida, not quite South Beach, but the Rockies will take on the Miami Marlins. It'll be the first time in 29 games, by the way, when the Rockies take on Miami, that they'll be playing a team below 500 in terms of record. We'll get more into the Rockies in a moment, but want to shout out my two great sponsors. Huntington Bank, simply outstanding. There's absolutely a branch near you. I tell you, they've opened up so many in our region, and they cover everything: checking, business checking, credit cards, home loan, auto finance. They can get you paid quicker, in fact, perhaps, with their direct deposit accounts as well. So you want to research that. Go check them out. It's Huntington Bank, huntingtonbank.com. And as I said, I guarantee you there is a branch near you. Good folks at Steel, they have all kinds of steel deals going on right now. STIHL. SteelUSA.com is where you can go shopping and see what fits your fancy. SteelDealers.com will let you know the closest dealer to you. And I guarantee you, just like Huntington Bank, there's one very, very close to where you are situated. They have deals now on 40 different tools going on. And I think a while back, I know on a couple of occasions, I've told you about their zero-turn mower. I was out at their place out near the airport, the huge warehouse, and it was awesome. I was driving around the zero-turn mower. Super cool. I mean, this will make your life much, much easier if you're one of the people that has a decent-sized lawn, wants to do it, and get it done quickly and fluidly. You want the zero-turn mower, and they have low-interest financing on the zero-turn mower right now. And if you buy any additional products on that same purchase, they'll continue with that low-interest financing. So you want to check them out. Again, it's SteelUSA.com, STIHL. All right. We're going to start today, naturally, talking a little bit more about the Rockies. This is an historically bad first third of the season as we tape here in Chicago before I head out to Wrigley. The Rockies are 9-46. Close doesn't count in baseball. I see improvement. They're in more baseball games. Last night, as we tape this, they lost in extra innings 4-3, actually in 11 innings, had opportunities. The margin between winning and losing for the Rockies is so razor thin because their offense, is not good. It's that simple. It's been poor the last few years, and it's reached a low point clearly this year. And you might ask, how has this happened? And there's a number of reasons. The Rockies, unfortunately, have missed on players in the draft. And then there's some guys that, look like they were stepping forward and have taken a step back this year. And you hope they can rebound within this season and move forward. Michael Toglia comes to mind, obviously. Big Mike, second half of last year. I'll give you a small example. He was second in slugging against fastballs in the second half of last year. He slugged over 600. There was only one player in baseball, this may surprise you, that slugged fastballs at a higher rate, and that is Aaron Judge. Not that you're surprised it's Aaron Judge, but the fact that Michael Toglia was second in slugging against fastballs. Well, if you've played any baseball, you know this. You have to hit the fastball. Even at the highest level in the world, the big leagues, you got to hit the fastball. The other stuff, the splitters, the sliders, the sweepers, the curveballs, the changeups, they're all nasty. You got to be able to get on that fastball. And for whatever reason, Big Mike is in the 200s this year in slugging against the fastball. We've seen him do it, so you can go to that reservoir of success in your brain and say, I know I can do it because I've done it before at this level. But so far through a third of the season, unfortunately, it hasn't happened. Ryan McMahon, really, really poor April. He has been much better in the month of May, but overall, when you look at the numbers, they're not where you'd expect Ryan McMahon to be. And he has a long back of the baseball card that suggests he'll reach his numbers. The Rockies obviously without Tovar for a month. They've played without Estrada for the better part of 2 months, and they're getting him back for the New York series. But it's still a very razor-thin margin. As I've said, some of the positives, Hunter Goodman last year, 13 home runs. You saw the pop, but he hit just 190. Well, now he leads all catchers in baseball in hits, and he's hit out on the road. He's been really good. Jordan Beck, after we talked about this last week, after being sent out, he's come back, and not only is he hitting, but he's producing extra base hits. He's producing some home runs. He leads the club in that department. Those are positives, but they got to lengthen the lineup. Brenton Doyle, will get going. I'm confident of that. He hit a home run last night to tie up the game fairly late at Wrigley. Tovar, has been terrific offensively since coming off the injured list, but they have to find a way to lengthen their lineup, and they need help. They need more talent. We know that. Ryan Ritter's intriguing. He has gone off. I don't know if you followed this the last few weeks down in Albuquerque, which is a great place to hit, but he's got 14 home runs. He had 3 home runs in a ball game. He was the back-to-back player of the week in the Pacific Coast League. So he's opened some eyes. He's a guy, I believe, if memory serves me correctly, was a 5th-round pick out of Kentucky. He's a shortstop by trade, middle infielder, short, second. So hopefully at some point he gets an opportunity and can provide some offense for the Rockies. Another positive I wanted to touch on was German Marquez. Now, German's coming off Tommy John. He made 1 appearance last year, and he had a really good first couple of starts to the season, particularly on the road in Philadelphia against that great Phillies lineup. And he was marvelous there. And then he had some rough ones. And then he came back 2 starts ago against Philadelphia at Coors Field, pitched beautifully again. And the strikeouts started to come back. Because if you remember the German when he first arrived, and great year in 2018 and All-Star in 2021, he would punch tickets, man. He'd strike guys out because he has high velocity, he has a really good curveball. And you're starting to see not an elite level of strikeout, but the strikeouts have gone up because at Wrigley Field the other day, he threw the ball great again. So, fingers crossed that German has turned a corner. It takes a while for pitchers coming back off of Tommy John. And we've been talking about him for so long. And I mean, this is a guy that got to the big leagues back in 2016. I mean, that's almost a decade ago. You may forget or maybe don't realize he's only 30. So that's been, trying to find small positives, right, in this dark year. And of late, that's been a positive. Want to shout out also Jake Bird. Jake Bird's been great. Bullpen, I by and large, has been really good. Unfortunately, I haven't had leads to protect late. But, Halverson's thrown the ball well. Tyler Kinley, for the most part, has thrown the ball well. But Jake Bird's been the best down there. Jake Bird leads all major league relief pitchers in strikeouts. He's, I think, top 2 or 3 in innings pitched out of the bullpen this year. I will say this for, astute Rockies fans, when you are not good, when you are not in contention, you have to be sellers at the deadline to acquire, hopefully, more talent. And we all know that not all the talent you acquire, not all the talent you draft, not all the talent you sign out of Latin America blossom into impactful big league players. But you need to keep acquiring young talent. And that's why virtually everyone on the roster, should be fair game if somebody's willing to give you enough in return. And you can't ask for the world. You can't be unreasonable. But there are players that other teams certainly may covet. Bullpen arms, veteran players. So we'll see what transpires because we're starting to get closer to when folks in baseball are talking about that. The calendar is going to turn to June here in a couple of days, and And then, you're talking about the end of July, the trade deadline, but sometimes teams will want to accelerate that process so they get a longer runway with a player that they covet. It's interesting watching some of the teams the Rockies have played. The Yankees were in town last week, and I know, the stadium almost gets turned into pinstripes. Though the Rockies, shocked the Yankees on that Friday night. They won 3-2, and I saw a ton of people standing as the Rockies were trying to produce that final out, and we're excited about the Rockies winning that ball game and knocking off the Yankees. Saturday turned into a runaway with that 10-run inning in the fifth for the Yankees. Sunday was a good ball game. Sunday, I thought the Rockies were going to get it done. I mean, they came, within, millimeters of maybe stealing that game on Sunday and winning that series against the Rockies. But one of the things that I took in talking to Aaron Boone and just watching the Yankees operate, they're going to be a tough out in October. Max Fried right now, you can make a very convincing argument. He is the best pitcher in baseball through the first third of the season. Got that big curveball. He's always been a great competitor. Remember Walt Weiss telling me when Fried was in Atlanta, so this guy's a great teammate. He's a great competitor. He does everything right in preparation. He consumes information, and then on game day, it shows up. So they have him leading the rotation, even without Garrett Cole. And Carlos Rodon is throwing like the Carlos Rodon when he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. Yankees are going to be tough. It was fun to watch. I get this question a lot. People say, hey, is it neat doing, the Yankees? And I've been, privileged enough to be doing this for 24 years. It's always great to see the elite teams. And the Yankees in particular, even though I didn't grow up rooting for the Yankees in New York, I grew up rooting for the Mets. I've told this story many times. My dad grew up 2 blocks from Yankee Stadium. He was at 164th in the concourse. It's passed down by generation. He hated the Yankees because his dad, my grandfather, hated the Yankees. He would walk across the Harlem River and go to the Polo Grounds. In fact, he worked there as a 17-year-old, and he was there when Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard around the world. So he always, he was aware of the Yankees. How can you not be? But he was never a Yankee fan. But the Yankees are different. They may be the most iconic brand in sports in the world. Everywhere you go, and I've been fortunate to travel, you see Yankee caps everywhere you go. Everybody knows who Babe Ruth is, and a whole lot of folks know who Aaron Judge is. So when the Yankees roll to town, it is different. It is special. And, I get up, even with this season being what it is, I still get fired up to go to the ballpark. I'm going to Wrigley Field here in a few minutes. I don't take that for granted. It's such an historic place. We'll get into the Cubs in a moment because that's a really good baseball team also. But seeing the Yankees, is always special. And Aaron Judge in particular, for those that made it out to Coors Field last weekend, for those that perhaps have gone to a baseball stadium, whether it was in the Bronx or somewhere else, to catch the Yankees recently and see Aaron Judge, you're witnessing one of the greatest hitters of all time. And right now, in terms of OPS plus, he is the highest rated right-handed hitter in the history of the game. The only guys in front of him, are left-handed batters like Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Barry Bonds. Those are the guys we're talking about. That's how impactful he's been. And he has this rare ability, especially for a guy who's really 6'8", 282 pounds, no fat on him, to be a contact guy and also a prodigious power hitter. We never see this. This guy's larger than life. I'm telling you, if he walked in the Bronco locker room, everyone would look at him and say, who is this freak? I mean, he would make the other tight ends look tiny. He's that friggin' big. And to watch him play and to watch how carefully you have to pitch him, and if you make, it's not a mistake. I mean, he hits pitches that are good pitchers' pitches out of the ballpark. He hit one to left on Friday. Then he hit an absolute titanic blast to right center on Saturday. And as a baseball fan, heck, as a sports fan, even if you're not a big baseball fan, you step back and you go, wow, I'm watching in person one of the all time greats. And that is not exaggeration. It's not embellishment. It's not hyperbole. It's legit. It's like if you go to the rink, as I've said during the winter, and you watch Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar play, file it away. Because 20, 30, 40 years from now, people are going to be talking about McKinnon and Makar. The same way we still talk about Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg. Jokic at Ball Arena. Same deal. And I don't know even if those guys may be close, but where Aaron Judge is situated right now in the history of the game, and there's more to come, special. So I hope you did get out and catch him at the ballpark over the weekend. It's good to catch up with DJ LeMahieu. He's on the back end now. DJ's 37. He still gives you a quality bat. He threw out a couple of hits to right field. I think I remarked on television that, that's a DJ LeMahieu hit, a line drive to right. He lets the ball travel, never been afraid to hit with 2 strikes. And he's always been quiet. I kid him that, his wife, Jordan, who's just a superstar, she does the talking for both of them. And I think back, and I'm sure all good Rockies fans do, and they think back to, man, 2017, 2018, you had DJ at second, you had Trevor Story at short, you had Nolan at third, and now look where we are. And this is not a revelation in thought, but the Rockies made a huge error, and they've owned up to this, when they let DJ go. They underestimated his value, not only on the field, but because he's quiet, his value in that clubhouse. He was so well respected, and the way he went about his business on and off the field was not only Charlie Blackmon-like, but Charlie Blackmon, the one guy that he looked at as his North Star, was DJ LeMahieu. And DJ left for the Bronx, and over the next couple of years, he wasn't only great, and he won a batting title in the American League. Heck, he was top 3 or 4 for 2 straight years in the MVP voting in the American League. And I really believe that began, the downfall, and it's not just one player as to not signing or missing on. It's a compilation of things, but letting DJ go ultimately was, and the Rockies have stated this, that they would take a mulligan on that one, because he meant so much to that clubhouse. But it's always good catching up with DJ. He's missed a good portion of the year with a calf injury, but he's coming back, and he's not the same player, clearly, but he's still going to have an impact on what the Yankees do over the next 4 months and into the postseason. And I know for some of you that are cynics, you'll say, well, Aaron Judge, yeah, he may be great. He's all regular season, but what has he done in the postseason? Thus far, his postseasons have not been stellar. I think he's 3 for 24 in his postseason career with runners in scoring position. However, he's still a guy I would not bet against. Remember Barry Bonds, for most of his career, didn't have great postseason stats, and there's now more opportunities, to go to the postseason. But then he finally got in the postseason again late in his career with the Giants, and he flat went off. So I think you'll probably see that from Aaron Judge moving forward. All right, we've been in Chicago, been at Wrigley for a couple. As you know, I said we're going down, and hopefully the Rockies can steal one tonight against the Cubs. One of the things I've observed now with the Cubs, they're a fascinating team. Second year under Craig Counsell. They lead baseball in runs scored, more than 6 a game. It's the most they've scored per game since 1930. I do not remember that team. And they do it in a variety of ways. And they right now really play to their ballpark environment. And Wrigley is unique. And if you've never been to Wrigley, I implore you, take some time, figure out a way in the coming years to make your way to Wrigley Field. It's historic, along with Fenway, two oldest ballparks in baseball. They're museums where they happen to still host baseball games, and they've modernized it. It's a great area around there, Wrigleyville, with restaurants and drinking establishments and great places to live and to walk around. You got to go to Wrigley. But Wrigley in April and a good portion of May, it's still cold, and the wind typically blows in. Probably heard us pontificating on this on the air, that it plays completely different this time of year. And then, the latter part of the season, once you get into the final 3 weeks of September into October, it plays differently. Now, it is typically, the last year was an aberration. Typically, June, July, August, man, oh man, it is a home run haven, because the wind is blowing out, and the gaps, the alleys, the power alleys, they're only 368 feet. And so anything up in the air, especially toward the scoreboard now, the large scoreboard in left center field, there's no wind to knock it down, even if the wind is blowing in. You see a lot of home runs. But right now, the Cubs, the first third of the season, out on the road, they've hit 54 home runs. And they've hit only 24 at Wrigley. And this is a team that's 13 games over 500 as we tape this today. I mean, they're on top of the National League Central. They're one of the top teams in baseball. As I said, they score more runs than anyone right now in baseball. Out on the road, they slug. At home, they steal bases like madmen. They stole 6 against the Rockies on Tuesday. They have 50 plus stolen bases at home. They've been caught only 5 times. Out on the road, they have only 19 stolen bases. So it's like, we're going to wait to slug out on the road because we know we can, with Pete Crow Armstrong, with Kyle Tucker, who's going to be the most coveted free agent at the end of the year, with Seiya Suzuki, who's healthy, and he's raking in the middle of that lineup. And don't forget Dansby Swanson, who after a slow start has come on, Ian Happ. I mean, they have a terrific lineup. Carson Kelly out of nowhere, catcher who's been around quite some time, is having a career year offensively. But when they get at home, they play to the ballpark, at least right now, in that they have to be more aggressive on the base paths because it's hard to hit home runs at Wrigley this time of year. So they've been fascinating to watch. Talking to Dansby Swanson the other day, he said this team's really unique, and he's played on some good teams. Not only, recently in Chicago, they won 83 games last year, better than average team, but in Atlanta. So he knows of what he says, and he told me that this team really finds a way every game to do whatever's necessary to win, whether it's, hit that home run late or to steal a bag and, somebody gets a single through the right side, and next thing you know, they produce a run. So they're fun to watch. They're exciting. And as I said, they're fascinating because they're almost 2 different teams. Out on the road, they slug. At home, they're like the mid-'80s Cardinals. So 2 good teams, in the Yankees and the Cubs, who are doing it in different ways. And I'll tell you all about the Mets next week after the Rockies visit Queens over the weekend. I have mentioned on numerous occasions over the last couple of weeks the work of Jordan Beck and how he's improved dramatically. And this is a guy that the Rockies obviously had high hopes for, slugged when he was at the University of Tennessee. And I had an opportunity to spend a few minutes with him after batting practice recently, and we chatted about where he is and where he's going. So enjoy this interview with Rockies left fielder out of the University of Tennessee by way of Huntsville, Alabama, Jordan Beck. Is there a point in time where you feel like I turned a corner as a big league offensive player?
I think anytime you have success, and you didn't have success before, it feels like that. But at the same time, I don't want to say that it was a limited amount of time. I think I had first stint was 150 at bats, and for me that's not even a college season. So I just think that I kind of found my footing and tried to get as comfortable as I could, as quick as I could, and just kept it rolling.
It's easy to point to that game, the first one in Kansas City, where you hit 2 bombs, you come back the next day and hit another one, as, man, that's the jumping off point, because the numbers have been sensational since then. Do you look at it as such, or maybe it happened in a game prior to that where, there was loud contact or something was a trigger to you that says, okay, I'm making a step?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely that game kind of boosted it forward. I adjusted a few things, and then just kind of like once you find kind of what you're looking for, or like find a feeling, and you can just kind of roll with things off that. Like it's never going to feel the same, but as long as you know where that base is, I feel like that day helped me establish my base, and then I just been continuing doing what I was doing that day.
Do you minimize things? In other words, if you've ever played golf, there can be 30 different things you're thinking about if you put your tee in the ground, and it's probably not good. And if you go to the plate and you have 30 different swing thoughts, probably not good. What do you tell yourself when you walk up there these days?
One, stick to the approach that I have versus the guy. Every guy is obviously different, different plans, but at the end of the day, I think it's just about competing. Don't let him beat me, and I got to think of it like he's taking money out of your hand too. So at the same time, like they just never want to lose.
I always wonder about this as a big leaguer, because you see the best pitchers in the world, and some guys, are folks that maybe favor off-speed deliveries, breaking ball, change up more than the heater. Do you ever sit soft up there, or you just say, I'm going to stay on the fastball and adjust off speed?
I think you definitely will have times, you should sit soft, and there's times you shouldn't. Majority of the time, I'm always on the fastball. Like everybody throws 100 now, so like if you're not on that, then you're not on time for anything else. But at the same time, if he's throwing 80% off speed and 0-1 counts or something, maybe it's a time maybe you should sit it or something. So I mean, there's certain times, where you'll sit off speed, but majority of the time it's all fastball.
Do you look at a certain play? Do you eliminate a part of the plate when you go up to there, or do you say, hey, I got to cover everything, or are you look in a specific area with a certain guy?
I think guy to guy, kind of depending on how I think they're going to attack me, and then also what I'm good at. If I stick to my strengths, I try not to worry about what the pitcher's going to do, and then if they abort the plan that I think that they're going to do, then maybe I'll have to adjust later in the AB, or maybe a couple ABs later. But for the most part, just sticking to what I'm good at and kind of rolling with that.
How comfortable are you now hitting the leadoff spot?
I mean, I like it. I like setting the tone of the game. I like going up, getting the first AB of the game. I think there's a few things that are good about that. You come up to bat, feels like every inning. There's a lot of stuff like that helps find rhythms. And before I was hitting 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe you don't get to hit for 3 innings versus now I feel like I hit 2 innings. So stuff like that, but I feel pretty comfortable there.
Is it a place that you were at in the past? I think I mentioned this on the air. There were different times in your career that you did hit leadoff, correct?
Yeah, I think the first time, my senior year of high school, I hit leadoff. After that, college, I never did. Maybe I got to 2, but then AAA, I hit leadoff pretty much every game I was there.
Who'd you follow growing up in Huntsville?
As in players, or?
Well, both. Was there a team, and was there a couple players that you kind of admired?
I mean, I grew up, like I said, a big Cardinals fan. Albert Pujols was kind of my favorite guy growing up to watch, and then once he got traded to the Angels, I kind of became an Angels fan, and then Mike Trout came along, and then I became a fan. It all just kind of was me following a player, to be honest. I was always a big fan of players, not necessarily a team, but that's really the main 2 that I followed early.
I don't want a scouting report, because I understand you could hoop a little bit, and that's a big sport in your family. How good a hooper were you?
I would say an above average high school player. Maybe I could play a little bit in college, but I'm definitely not not 6'8", so that doesn't help, and not necessarily a point guard either. So I think I'm point guard size now, but I'm an above average high school player.
How about football? Did you ever play? Alabama, I thought they'd kick you out of the state if you don't play football.
I did. Played football, and honestly, that's probably what I was best at the time when I stopped playing. I hurt my foot one year on a turf field, actually. It's the first time I ever played on a turf field, and I broke my ankle or foot or something like that, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just played basketball and baseball from then on.
Family-wise, when you grew up in Huntsville, you had the Cardinals, and the reason I'm asking is the Yankees are in town this weekend, and the Yankees are a legendary franchise regardless of whether it's baseball. It doesn't matter what you talk about, where you go in the world. Everyone knows the logo. Everyone knows who the Yankees are. Does it have a greater meaning to you now as a big leaguer?
To be honest, no. One of my good friends back home was a huge Yankees fan. I honestly hated the fact that he liked the Yankees. At the time, they were really, really good too. So it was just like your bandwagon, pretty much. So No, I never grew up really liking them. Never really paid attention to them, to be honest with you. Now it's just another team you play.
Gotcha. So you go to Tennessee. It's become a legendary program with Vitello, and you have a target on your back every time you roll into wherever it is, somewhere else in the SEC. How cool was that?
It's fun. It's fun feeling like I've been on both sides of it. I've been on the side where it's like you always kind of have like the target on your back, obviously, and then I've been on the side where you're always hunting the team like somebody else has a target on their back, and both are fun. Both are super competitive. There's never a game that a team's out of, really. They're always chirpy. I kind of like the chirpy games. They feel more intense to me. But, yeah, I mean, they turned that program around, especially I think 2 years before I was there, they were losing 50 games a season. Now they're winning 50 games a season. So they're doing a good job.
Does Coach Vitello check in on you?
Yeah, every now and then. Me and Elander probably still talk more frequent, but me and V still talk for sure.
Do you have a special pride or secret handshake with all the Vols on this team?
No, we don't have any handshakes. Just good friends and hang out on and off the field. So,
good deal. How have you handled the losing? Because I mean, there's no way around it. The club has struggled at a historic level so far. You're a young player. You want to be a part of the solution here, clearly. But how have you handled it day to day?
Obviously, it's tough. I come to the ballpark and I want to win every day. We got to figure out ways to win. Feels like when we pitch, we don't hit. When we hit, we don't pitch. When we hit and pitch, we don't play defense. So, I mean, it's kind of a factor of all three things. I think our ball club's good enough to win more games than that. I think we all thought that and established that. I think at the end of the day, we just got to keep putting our head down and going to work. I think we got to show up, and if the results are there, they're there. So I think that's how we got to attack it.
I had heard when, before I ever met you, when you were coming up through the minor leagues, and you played with an edge, and I can see it sitting where I do every day, and that you're not afraid to say something. Are you comfortable enough yet to, when the time is appropriate, to kind of take a leadership mantle here and there?
I mean, I think it really is person-to-person based. I think on this team especially, I think we're all pretty comfortable, like, saying what we need to say and kind of getting it out. But at the end of the day, like, you can talk to people, you can confront people, but if the results aren't on the field, then I think that's kind of like hey, we need to take a step back, we need to reset, we need to figure out what's going wrong and how we're going to fix it. I think that, yes, I definitely think that I'm more comfortable with more time, obviously, and I think that once you earn respect from others, like, you will kind of necessarily be in that spot, but it's kind of comes with it. So,
Warren Schaefer takes over less than 2 weeks ago. When someone like myself says, what do you think of when his name is mentioned? What are your first couple of thoughts?
Exactly. I mean, he's a grinder, head down, always working, wants to do more than everybody else. Like, I mean, there's a lot of factors, and, like, there's a true sense of, like, accountability and things that I felt like maybe we didn't have before. I think that like, the other day I had a base running mistake, and, like, the first thing we do in our meeting, like, we go, like, hey, like, this is what this play happened, this can happen, like, next time when you're in this situation, you got to understand that if it goes to the pitcher, you got to be back at second, like that, like, stuff like that, whereas maybe before it was just kind of like, whatever, don't really pay attention to it, and it feels more accountable to me. So.
I'll leave you with this. If you want to laugh, who's the first guy you go to in that clubhouse?
I mean, Martini's, you don't even have to want to laugh. He'll just make you laugh anyway. That guy's always got something to say, so that's definitely the guy.
Good deal. Hey, Jordan, good luck, man. Stay healthy and continued success.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Big thanks to Jordan Beck, and hopefully he can lead the Rockies to a victory over PCA and the Cubs. Isn't that a great nickname? Pete Crow Armstrong, so everybody calls him PCA. And he reminds me of Corbin Carroll. These guys aren't big dudes, yet they hit for power. They can fly. In the case of Corbin Carroll, solid defensively. PCA is going to give Brenton Doyle a run for the Gold Glove in center field. Both are fantastic. This is a really good baseball player. And it just shows you that this is a sport where talent comes in all sizes and forms, right? You think to Jose Altuve with the Astros. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's 5'6". PCA, 5'11", 6 foot, maybe 175, 180 pounds. He's got mid-teens in home runs. He can fly. He impacts the game in so many different ways. Corbin Carroll, is the easiest comp, as I said, down in Arizona. Not a big guy. I mean, Carroll's like 5'9" and weighs about 175, 180 pounds. Yet they hit the ball over the wall. So I wanted to make sure I made mention of what a blast it is to watch Pete Crow Armstrong. Hey, there was a fan who, Twitter is what it is. X can be a cesspool, can be a big cesspool. Somebody got after me and said, during these Yankee games, you're talking all about the Yankees. Well, two thoughts on that as I respond here on my podcast. One, for 162 games, I talk every day with fingers crossed that, each day is going to produce a win about the Rockies. Well, each new team that comes in, as a fan of baseball, I feel obligated to disseminate information about the opponent that you don't see very frequently, and to also talk up talent. And just like if they played for the Rockies, you would put your arms around them. I look to embrace anybody in this sport that I love and that, if you're listening to this, you love, that is different, that is having a great year or having a great career. That's the beauty of athletics. Same thing in all the other sports, man. What can you only observe from one spot? You may look in and say, boy, oh boy, I don't care what happens tonight. I want the Nuggets to win. I want the Avalanche to win. I get that. That's fandom. But it doesn't mean you don't appreciate the other team. And as a broadcaster, again, I feel obligated to fill you in on the other team, the other players, their story, how they arrived, because you get to hear that on a regular basis about your own team. Well, now you learn about the other team. It's my job. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll do it again in 7 days. Stay safe, stay well, and tell your friends and family about what we do here on the podcast if you have some time. Take care. Big shout out. Thanks to Marky and to Alex as well for doing their thing. We'll see you in a few.